Guys, as you can see, we are talking about love, sex, and dating. Now, for all of you who think, wow, I'm already uncomfortable, well, imagine how I feel. I have to talk to you guys about it. So, trust me, my heart is pumping because I'm pretty nervous about this one. But, guys, really, I'm super excited about this conversation. For those of you who weren't here last week, I kind of prefaced this talk with, this is not about making anybody feel bad for the decisions that they've made in their life. This is nothing about trying to condemn somebody for any type of sex or anything like that they've had in their life. The whole purpose of this is really to give you guys a way to have the healthiest possible relationships. Now, this whole series is based off of how to have a healthy relationship, hopefully one day in your future a healthy marriage, and also how to have sex in a healthy way. And so, in order to get started with this talk, we're gonna start out with your sex talk. Oh yeah, Matt loves doing this. I want you to think about your sex talk. I would assume that as a high schooler, you probably have this at this point. Think about the time when your mom or your dad took you aside and they started talking about the birds and the bees and how all that stuff works. For me, it was my dad. I was about 12 or 13 years old. He knew that I started to think, girls were cute. They were no longer gross. And so he decided we went for a drive. And in the car, he started talking about sex. And it was literally the most awkward moment of my entire life. Because my dad tried talking about sex, we were talking about what stuff like pornography is, and how that's not what sex is really like, and what sex is for, and all this stuff. And then after that was about the only conversation I had about sex at all. Like seriously, it was done there. And I actually know one of my friends, his dad actually gave him a sex talk on an airplane. Literally in a public place, on an airplane, drew diagrams and everything on the airplane. It makes my sex talk look like it was, well done. But I would have hated that if my dad would have been like, hey, let's take a trip. Let's take a trip and I'm going to talk to you about sex. That's what I was going on this trip. That would have been the most awkward moment of my life. But I don't know what your sex talk was like. I don't know if it was good. If your last name is Grunges, I assume yours was pretty good because I've heard Stephanie give hers before, and it's pretty decent. But, thank you. And so, I want to talk about how this sex talk, like I said, might happen one time and we never talk about it again. My parents and I did not talk about sex. My parents run a marriage ministry, so they talk about sex with people all the time. They just didn't talk to me about sex very often. And we need to change this from going from a one-time talk to a longer discussion. We think after one talk, we're ready. After one talk, it's like, okay, you're ready to have sex one day. I hope you get it right. Don't mess up. But no, it needs to be a longer discussion because sex develops over time. Sex changes over time. And so it needs to be a conversation we're always having. But why this series? Why are we doing a love, sex, and dating series at Youth United? Do we really need to talk about this? And why is it a series? Can we just talk about it one day and then just stop there and just be done and wait until next February and just come back to it next year? That way I don't have to hear it 4 times in my entire time in OYU. But no, because we're doing this series because I want for you what you want for you. I would bet that most of us would love to one day have a great marriage that's full of compassion, that lasts forever until the day you die. You're married to the same person and you love them. There's compassion, there's intimacy, there's great sex the entire time. I think that's probably what you guys want one day in your future. But in order to get that, we got to change something up. Right now, for relationships outside of the church, 50% of marriages end in divorce. If you are not a Christ follower, 50% of marriages end in divorce. If you're part of a church body, it's closer to about 30%, which is still extremely high. And then of those percents that stay together, half the time the people are just miserable. Like really, like you're like, well, we're married together, so we're gonna stay together, but our relationship sucks, we haven't had sex in 10 years, and I just don't even want to touch them, I don't want to be around them, but we're married, so we're just gonna keep doing life together because we're just gonna do it for the kids. And their lives are miserable, and that's not what any of us want. One day you want to have a relationship that is, like I said, is full of compassion, full of fun, and that you guys can truly enjoy. And we think that if I do everything like everybody else, then I'll be good. Like we date like everybody else. We marry people like everybody else does. We talk about relationships like everybody else does. We talk about sex the same way everybody else does. And then when our hearts end up broken because that person broke up with me, or later on in life when that divorce happened, we wonder, why did we end up like everybody else? It's because we did everything like everybody else. Then the question we end up with is, why are we end up like everybody else? And of course you end up like everybody else because you approach every aspect of your relationship like everybody else did. And so if you want to have a relationship like nobody else, you have to navigate the relationship like nobody else. Real quick, as we're talking about this series, guys, there's going to be a lot of stuff that is really good things to write down. So if you guys have your phones right now, I'm allowing you to take them out, take out your phone, look at it, open your notes, and be willing to take notes on your phone, guys. Because there are going to be things that are said here today and for the next 5 weeks while we do this that you're going to want to be able to repeat. So I encourage you to take some sort of notes, that way you can have them down, and that way you can bring them into conversations that you guys will have in the future. So then there's just a little, I just want to make sure that you guys know that taking notes for this series would be greatly encouraged. But my goal for this series is to help single people, to help those who are in a relationship currently, navigate them like nobody else is navigating relationships. I want you guys to know how to navigate your relationships better than any of your friends do. That way you have better relationships than any of your friends do. And you guys can be an example of what a relationship should be like. This series is going to be all about how we can have better relationships and how we can prepare ourselves not only for good relationships now, but for better relationships in the future. So if you are single in here, don't just shut me up for the entire series. This stuff is applicable to you. You guys are dating right now and you're in a great relationship. I guarantee you, this series can make your relationship even better. If you guys are dating right now and you're in a rough spot and you're thinking maybe we need to break up like right now, then this series might give you some of the answers that you need. And if you think one day I want to have a healthy marriage with somebody who I love and I care about, then seriously, this series is going to be super applicable to you. Now, I know most of you know me. You guys know that I'm not married. I don't have a ring on my hand. I am probably one of the least qualified people to talk to you guys about this topic. Really, I really am. Like, I am basically one step further than some of you guys who are in a serious relationship, because all I did was I saved up, bought a ring, and I went like this. That's about all I've done more than not most of you guys, but some of you guys in this room. Really, I am not qualified to give this discussion, to give this sermon series. But I will tell you guys, I am passionate about your relationships now. I am passionate about you guys having good relationships now that will turn into even better relationships in the future, or that you will learn from in order to have a better relationship in the future as well. That is the reason why we're having this series, because I care about the relationships you guys have now. And I want you guys to have good relationships in the future. This series is for anyone who is single and wants to date, anyone who is dating, anyone who is engaged, anybody who is married. This series is not only for you students. I guarantee your small group leaders are going to be learning something during this series. This stuff is going to be applicable to anybody, no matter where they are in life right now. And I don't know what your experience is like when it comes to dating, or when it comes to marriage. I don't know how your parents' marriage are. Maybe they are divorced. Maybe they're still together, but you know they're not happy. Maybe they're together and they're some of the happiest people you know in the world. That doesn't matter because what they have, you can have something completely different. If they have a great marriage and that's a goal for you, that's a great thing to have. But if they have a terrible marriage or they're not even together anymore, know that you're not defined by the decisions that they have made in their life and that you have the opportunity to have a better relationship, a better marriage one day in the future than what they have had. Now, I do also want to talk about one type of person that might be a little bit uncomfortable through this entire series. If you consider yourself somebody who is a recreational dater, somebody who's like, you know, I'm just in it so I can say I have a girlfriend, or I'm just in it so I can say I have a boyfriend, or I'm just in it because honestly the sex is really good, or I'm just in it because I just enjoy the title, I just enjoy having somebody else around as a part of my life, but I don't really care about them. I bet you're going to be a little bit uncomfortable. Because basically what I'm going to say over the next few weeks is the complete opposite of the way that you're currently living. But I encourage you to stick with me over the next few weeks. Because I would bet one day in the future, you're going to decide, you know what? I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to find somebody who I want to love for the rest of my life. And if you can go back to thinking about this series, it will help you in whatever relationship is to come after that. Now, in order to fully dive into this series, we first need to talk about a myth. It's a very common myth, and addressing a myth that has gotten people that are dating, that are in a relationship, in so much trouble. It's a myth that most of us live by, but we don't know that we live by it. This myth is extremely destructive. We call this myth the right person myth. It starts out when you're single. It starts out with, when I find the right person, everything will be all right. The myth isn't saying that, is there a right person out there for me? Because there very well might be a right person out there for you. But it is saying that once I find the right person, everything is going to be all right. And there's some things that we all know that we are just going to assume that when we find the right person, everything's going to be all right. We're going to notice these things. We're going to have a deep intimacy. We're going to love each other so much. When I'm with the right person, things are just going to happen. It's just going to be natural. It's going to be so easy. Like we're going to lock eyes across the room. It's going to be like, yeah, you're the one. You're the one forever. And you'll be like, yeah. And when we hold hands, there's just a spark. And then when we kiss, it's like fireworks going everywhere. And it's beautiful. And when you find the right person, these are the things that you expect. And you think, well, we're going to live happily ever after. It's going to be a fairy tale. And when that happens to me, that means I have the right person. And nothing is ever going to go wrong because I have the right person. I want to ask you a question. Do you know what it is that makes us attracted to somebody in that kind of way? That makes us attracted to somebody by just the way that they are or the way you guys hold hands? Do you know what that is that attracts you to anybody? Yes?
Carter. It's Carter.
It's not Carter. It's chemistry. That's all it is. All it is chemistry. You can have chemistry with literally anybody. You can have chemistry with anybody that walks on this planet. And people think that because I have chemistry, that means we're right together. And although chemistry is good to have in a relationship, but, I mean, you guys are small group leaders, if you want to figure out if you have chemistry with somebody, get married. Because I guarantee you, when you get married, that chemistry, it's going to go away. Small group leaders, does it go away pretty much 100%? Goes away. I actually was talking to one of your small group leaders recently, and she said, I've been married for 23 years, and the last 15 of them have been great. Because when you get married, that chemistry goes away real quick. When your relationship is based just off of chemistry, after you get married, it's going to go away. You're going to be facing some pretty big challenges. So we want to base our relationships now on things that are more important than just chemistry. And so as you have this chemistry with somebody, and you're like, things just go so easy, I love them, and they're so great, you're like, well, naturally, because we have great chemistry, we're going to start having sex. Might as well. Everything, it feels great so far, and, I want to test drive a car before I buy it, so I might as well have sex and see what happens. And guess what? I bet you the sex is great. Seriously. I bet you it's fantastic. Like, it's phenomenal. You're like, oh, this thing is so great. And you're all of a sudden, you're like, gosh, now we have great sex. We still have this great intimacy. We still love each other. And then people start living by this fantasy that nobody has ever loved the way that I love this person. Like, nobody in the history of the world has ever loved somebody the way I love this person. They've never had so much fun together. They've never enjoyed the presence of the other person so much. No one has ever had what we have today. And I guarantee you, your relationship that you have with somebody that you feel like no one's ever had before, thousands of people have had that before. If your relationship is based off of chemistry, thousands of people have been in that same place and had the same situation before. In order to have chemistry with somebody, does anybody know what you need? There is one requirement for both of you to have in order to have chemistry together. Both of you need to have one requirement. Anybody know what that requirement is? Don't you dare say Carter. That one requirement in order to find chemistry with another person is they need to have a pulse. They need to be alive. If they're alive, you can have chemistry with them. No joke. You can have chemistry with somebody you met at a bar one time. You can have chemistry with somebody who you had that one math class with. They helped you on that one math test at one time. You can have chemistry with somebody you've known for years. You can have chemistry with somebody who you don't even know their name and they don't even know yours. You're able to have chemistry with anybody as long as they have a pulse. And so literally people are basing their marriage relationships and the deepness of how their relationship is based on the fact that they have a pulse. Now what you want to base your relationships on? The fact that they're alive? Personally, I don't want to base mine off of that. That sounds like a bad idea. And one day, those people who have a pulse and have chemistry, two things, maybe a couple more things in common. He loves football and she knows that they say hike. And she loves accounting and he knows 2 + 2. And so they're like, oh, that's in common. And so they decide, you know what? We're going to get married. And you get married, all of a sudden, like I said, you think, well, everything in my marriage isn't going all right, so I must not have the right person. But maybe they're the right person. And that's when divorce happens. And those two go in another relationship thinking the original right person myth. And this is the reason why 67% of second marriages end up in divorce. And over 80% of third marriages end in divorce. It's because they just keep repeating the same things over and over again, thinking that if I find the right person, everything's going to be all right. And when it's not all right, they think, I don't have the right person, so I'm not going to be married to them anymore. And so they leave. They go marry somebody else, and they leave. And they go marry somebody else. And the myth continues. If we have healthy marriages, we have healthy relationships now in high school, starting now as high schoolers. I guarantee you that your relationship with your future husband or wife, whether you're with them right now or not, is going to be so much healthier than what you will be without thinking about these steps. So we're going to open up the Bible real quick to 1 Corinthians 13. This chapter, 1 Corinthians 13, is actually called the love chapter. And it's one of the letters that Paul wrote to a church in Corinth. It's one of two that are found in the Bible, first and second Corinthians. And so he's writing to the Corinthians here and saying, saying some things about love. So this is what he says. I'll put it on the screen here. It says, love is patient. Love is kind. Does not envy. Does not boast. Is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. Love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never ends. So all these are examples of what love should have. Every single one of them. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to break them down. I'm going to kind of explain each one of these and what it means that Paul is saying. So he starts out with love is patient. That means it is never pressuring another person and deciding that if they move at a slower pace than you do, that I am choosing to live at that pace with them because I love and I care about them. Now, this one is especially for ladies. Ladies, if he just pushes you and pushes you and pushes you, not physically, but in a way that he's telling you to do something, whether it's sexual or something you're not comfortable with, if he's pushing you and pushing you and pushing you to do something, and then after you do it, he says, I love you, guess what? He doesn't love you. It's not love. If he just keeps telling you, we need to keep doing this, and then after you do it, he says, I love you, he doesn't love you. And guess what? If right now he isn't patient, one day when he says I do, he's not going to become patient. I guarantee you that. Whatever you are weak with now, whatever you struggle with now, just because you say I do, won't change. So if he is pushing you to do something and doesn't tell you I love you till the end, it is not love. Then it moves into love is kind. It is taking into consideration what the other person feels at all times. I think so much of the time we think, yeah, I'm a kind person most of the time. Yeah, I'm really kind to her most of the time. I'm really kind to him most of the time. But this is being kind at all times, regardless of what the circumstances are going on in your life. You think about the times when you come home and you're tired from work, or it's been a long day at school, and you're just upset, and you decide you're just not in a kind mood. If you truly love, it's choosing that I'm going to be kind, regardless of what the situation is in my life. He goes on to say, love does not envy, does not boast, and is not proud. All three of these are kind of bunched up into just one word that I would call insecurity. If you have any of these, it's because you are insecure. They say, I don't feel good about me, and because of that, I don't feel good about you, so I'm going to drag you down with me. It's saying that because I don't feel good about me, and I don't feel good about us, you have to come to my level, so I'm going to drag you down to my level with me. And there are three ways that these really are shown. One of them is sarcasm, one is criticism, and the other is public disrespect. If someone is saying something that is sounding sarcastic to you, that is actually meant to be mean, or if they are criticizing the way you look, the way you act, the people you are with, or if they are in public in front of your friends insulting you in any way, it is not love. He moves on to say, love is honoring, which means never holding against what the other person has done in the past. It's saying, I'm going to honor you as a person you are today and letting go of the past. I'm going to let go of the things that you have messed up on in the past. I'm going to forgive you, and we're going to move forward into the future together. I'm going to honor you as a person you are. It says love is not self-seeking. It means their interests and their needs first. Personally, this is the one I struggle with the most. I think that because because of what I like to do, and I'm very high on just making a decision right away and think about it later. I think I'm just going to go in and just do whatever I need to do and not think about what my fiance and I feel about that. And so I have to tell myself I need to slow down because I'm an activator. I like to, like I said, I like to act before I think, and she likes to think before she acts. And so I have to tell myself, all right, what are her interests, what are hers like, and how do I consider her feelings over mine? So if they are self-seeking, they are selfish. Guys, it's not love. Love is not easily angered. So it's not letting the emotions get the best of me and having me respond outwardly towards you. Kind of like one of those situations where at school you had a hard day, or football practice was tough, basketball practice was tough, maybe cheer practice was tough, like something didn't go well. And because you're upset that this thing didn't go well, I'm going to get upset with you because that situation in my life, they're mad at me. And so I'm going to take it out on the person that I care about most. Now, most people don't do this on purpose, but it happens just subconsciously where you're already in a bad mood, and so you can automatically place blame on somebody who's around you at all times. Love is not easily angered. So if your love is easily angered, then guys, it's not love. Love keeps no records of wrongs. It's very similar to honoring. It's letting go of what the past was and saying, you know what, I forgive you, and let's move on. Now this means things before your relationship and things during your relationship. If you say, I forgive you, you are saying that I forgive you. And it's done. If you have truly forgiven somebody, then you're not going to bring it up anymore. If you're saying that I forgive you, then you have to let it go. And say, it's not going to keep records of the wrongs, that I forgive you, we're going to move forward in the future better together. And his ending is, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. What he's saying is love always and forever chooses to believe the best while choosing to oversee the rest. True love will always find the best side of you and love the best side of you and get over some of the negative sides of you, because we all have them. So if it is truly love, they will choose to believe the best and choose to oversee the rest. Now, in order for us to have the right relationships, instead of us saying, I need to go out and find the right person is out there for me somewhere, and I'm going to go find him, and I'm just going to wait until I find him, and I'm just going to keep on looking. Instead of doing that, ask yourself this: am I the right person? Am I the right person for the right person? Because if you're looking at that list that I just listed up, and you're thinking, wow, I suck at just about all of these. I could really, really use some work in a lot of these. Then by working on those, you're going to become the right person. That way when you meet the right person, you are ready as their right person. Because if you're the wrong person and they're the right person, their right doesn't overcome your wrong. You both have to be right for each other. And then Paul closes out with this verse. He says, when I was a child, I acted like a child, I thought like a child, and I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. Now, it says man because obviously Paul was a man. This also is, you can replace man with woman. It's the same thing. That doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything. So just put man or woman in there depending on who you are. And what he's saying is, yeah, when I was a kid, I talked like a kid. That makes sense. I thought like a kid. Yep. I reasoned like a kid. Okay. But when I became a man, I had to put my childish ways behind me. Guys, a good relationship is never going to happen with a child. If you decide that you need to grow up You have to decide that if I want a good relationship now, that I need to quit being a kid, I need to quit acting like a kid myself, and I gotta grow up, and I gotta be a man. Or I gotta grow up, and I need to become a woman. And I need to be able to look at myself realistically and say, this is where I'm not strong, and this is how I'm going to become the right person for the right person. We have to put our childish ways behind us. Now, many of us in this room, you guys are freshmen, you're sophomores, juniors, seniors. In many ways, you kind of are kids at times. Like, you guys are allowed to be kids still. Some of you guys are 14 years old. Like when I was 14, I still loved Star Wars and I loved just acting out just fun things as a kid. And I still love Star Wars, but I'm less public about it. But I was a kid. When I was 15, I was a kid. Heck, when I was 20, I was a kid. I still acted like a child. But if you want to have a relationship that is going to be better than anybody else's relationship, you have to decide, I am no longer going to be a child. And I'm going to grow up. And I'm going to become a man. Or I'm going to become a woman. I'm going to stand up for what I believe. I'm going to figure out what I need to do better in my life. That way I can do something better in somebody else's life.